Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tiki Hut Central, the podcast. We are broadcasting live from the sunny Caribbean with some very special guests tonight. I'm your host, Ken Rose, and I'd like to introduce you to our producer over there. I believe her name is Lisa. Lisa, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Got my name right.
Well, I always try to get your name right.
Hi, everybody.
How are you doing tonight, Lisa?
I'm all right.
Can you believe this is episode 20?
I'm too far away from the mic.
Well, there you go. You got to get that big black mic closer to your mouth there. So, can you believe it's episode 20 at this point?
No.
When we got started, we were just kind of like, can we get through one or two episodes? And here we are, right? It's crazy. So, you having a good week?
Yeah.
And everything's running.
It's hump day.
It is hump day. Is everything running right on the production side? We got all of our feeds going.
Yes.
So, we're streaming on four sites. All right, great. Well, next to me here is Mr. Gus Ortiz from MKG Commercial Real Estate. Say hi to everybody, Gus.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Thank you for coming on the show tonight.
I appreciate you. This is awesome. Yes,
we're going to pick your brain. We're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about your hobbies because you're an adventurer and a philanthropist, and you got all kinds of crazy stuff that you're involved in.
We'll see. Hopefully, we don't bore everybody in this with this podcast.
No. We're going to keep everybody going. And like I tell everybody all the time, the way to get started with any show, whether you're watching us or Lucifer or Outer Banks or whatever the hell you're watching, the best way to start any show is with a beer. And tonight's beer we picked especially for this show because this is episode 20 from Tiki Hut Central. We are busting open Jimmy Buffett's Land Shark Lager. It's an island-style lager because there are many islands where this beer is produced because it is produced in Margaritaville Brewing in St. Louis, where there's plenty of oceanfront property. So this is a real estate show tonight. If you're looking for real estate oceanfront in St. Louis, reach out to Gus.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Reach out to me.
Don't reach out to me for St. Louis oceanfront. That's gonna end poorly.
We'll find you oceanfront property in St. Louis. We're gonna give this a taste. Everybody's familiar with Land Shark Lager.
Let's give it a whirl. I'm sure you've had it before. I haven't had it.
I've been drinking this since Saturday.
Oh.
It's nice and light. It's refreshing.
Super light, yeah.
What do you think?
That's good.
Lisa, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad?
It's super light. Yeah, I prefer lagers.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I like a little more flavor, IPAs and stuff like that. I like heavier beers. But this is nice. Like if you are out on the beach or you're out in the lake or just kind of like in the middle of the sun.
Yeah.
Like a lager or sometimes the heavier beers are not so good. This is really a good light beer for you to be out in the sun.
Drink this one.
And it says fins up. It's from Margaritaville Brewing. And what's the alcohol content? Lisa and I just spilled it on my sorry.
Yeah.
I just spilled it on our unit here.
This is what happens when Land Shark joins the party.
But this is 4.9%, I believe. I can't see the small type.
I don't have my glasses.
But anyway,
I can't see.
Gus has had some beer. Lisa's had some beer. I've had some beer. And also our podcasting mixers had some beer. So let's get right into the show, Gus. And why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? What brought you here to South Lake?
I actually got here by accident. So in 2007, my wife, she wanted to move up here.
Okay.
And, she'd been dying to be close to the parks
Mm-hmm.
and was looking for a home. And we didn't know anything about Claremont. And she drove through here. She happened to drive through here to try to go to another house, not realizing where she was driving. And she was like, "This place is awesome.
Right.
It got hills everywhere. It was
Right.
beautiful." And she's like, "Hills in Florida? Where do you find hills in Florida?"
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we came from South Florida, so it was just a ton of like flat land everywhere.
Right.
So, but she fell in love with it immediately, and we went ahead and bought a house.
And you've been here how long now?
Well, she's been here 2 years longer than I was because in 2008, as you know, the economy tanked.
Sure. Woo.
And all job opportunities for me kind of fell through the. Exactly.
Yeah, that was exactly it.
That's exactly what happened. So I ended up getting stuck in South Florida for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So I was essentially commuting
Oh,
from
geez.
South Florida.
But like every weekend?
Yeah, I started every weekend, but then that got tiresome. So I ended up doing maybe like twice a month. And then eventually I ended up getting a really, it was a cool gig, but it paid nothing.
Right.
But it got me up here. and it had some opportunity. So so that's how we ended up getting here.
Wow, super cool. Now, Lisa got here. How'd you get here? You've been here like how long?
79 without getting
79.
Wow.
So you've been here like 42 years, which is crazy because you're only 32. So it's pretty amazing.
I did live in Georgia for 7 years.
Oh, Georgia. Okay. All right.
And the Keys for a little while, and I came back here.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There's not very many people that like are like that
from
long
here.
here, like
Yeah.
from here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I mean, everyone that most of the people that I know are from somewhere else.
Yeah. I got here by chance. One of my many ex-wives was she worked for a casino company, and she was a blackjack dealer for these casino parties.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she had work in Howey Hills, and we lived in Metro West Orlando. So she would commute and drive through Claremont. She's like, "Wow, this place is unbelievable. They have hills and it's open space, and it seems like it's so far out there." And I'm like, that's freaking far out there. I don't want to live out there.
Yeah.
And then we moved out here in 2001. So we have a similar story, though, because we spoke earlier, and you have 3 daughters.
I do. I have 3 girls.
And how old are they?
So my whole house is females, including the cat.
And how old are your girls?
So
It's like my poor dad.
so my oldest daughter is 26.
Okay.
I have a 25-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Okay. So you got 3. And I raised 3. My daughters are 34, 31, 29, and then my son's 25.
There you go.
So I feel your pain growing up in a house full of girls, man. Holy crap, the stuff that went on.
Good times. It was good times.
Yeah, I mean it's good times, but there's so much drama. I mean, do your girls have drama with boys and things? And
Well, they weren't too bad. I was being a little flippant when I said that it was great, but so it's a challenge to be the only like male energy in a household. So, but no, actually, my girls were actually pretty good. They didn't really get into boys early, so which was nice. They really they were kind of like ooh boys, for quite a long time, which was cool. That worked out for me. That was great.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, ooh boys, they're awful. So actually that was pretty good. They had other stupid issues, they just teenage angst and stuff like that,
I understand. We have an unaccompanied minor living in our house that's 15, and so she's at the ew, I don't like boys, but maybe I'll hang out with boys.
Yeah,
so
Spending every day with one.
Yeah.
we won't mention any names because there's only one living at the house. But anyway, but
She doesn't watch our show. So.
yeah, she doesn't watch the show. She's not that sophisticated.
Right.
So
or we're not that cool.
we're not that cool.
That's how
This show is cool. We're talking about beer and music. I mean, what could be cooler than that? I mean,
I don't know. My daughter, I don't think she thinks I'm cool anymore. So,
Right.
or whatever.
Well. Speaking of cool and speaking of daughters, the first time that I met you're different than everyone else that I've met in town. You carry yourself with this. You've got like the coolest style. I mean, it's vests, it's jeans, and ties, and
the hair.
and
Can't forget about
the hair, and of course fedoras, and where did that style come from? Did it come from the girls, or did you kind of find your niche with your look?
I don't know. I think I just kind of. I mean, I don't know that it was necessarily intentional.
Right.
Like I just kind of like certain things. Like I like fedoras.
Right.
But I don't really necessarily like a full suit and all that. Like I'm not into that. I feel like I'm more casual. So I'm comfortable in jeans.
Yeah. Me too. I mean.
Yeah. So when I dress up, I try to find a casual way to dress up, so I don't feel like I'm all uptight and stuff like that. So I don't know. I find little things that I like, and I just kind of go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the coolest thing because I thought I was the coolest guy in Claremont, because I have my jeans and I have my jewelry and necklaces and, cool shirts and things like that. And then I meet you and I'm like, gosh, he's got some freaking style. I mean, shit, I got to get me some vests. I got to find some vests and some ties. And I mean, because you're very unique in your style as one of our dear friends says, Joe, if you're watching the show, Joe says he's a plain vanilla realtor.
Sure.
And you're really, you are the guy that people say, that's Gus. Oh, you don't know Gus? No, but I've seen him. I've seen the look. He just, because I'm not a shirt and I'm not a suit guy either. I hate suits, but I want to look cool and I want to look dressed up.
Well, that's why I like the vest. The vest is
vests
a good,
are like a home run.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can get away with a vest and still kind of look formal, kind-ish. Like
you can be formal, but yet you can go
but kind of chill
to a dive bar, but you could also go out to a dinner show or something. People are like, wow, that guy's got some swag.
Yeah, I think the vest is a really good, happy medium.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's awesome. So just your whole thing.
I appreciate you, man.
So it's I think it's super cool. So, I mean, Gus is probably going to have a show on fashion coming on E Network at some point.
And, I don't know if anyone wants my fashion advice.
I mean, I've always been impressed because, I like shoes, but I like to throw. I'm a Levi's guy. I'm like, get a pair of Levi's and I'll dress up everything else.
Yeah. I'm totally like that.
I'll put on $100 shirt, a $200 pair of shoes, but I want the Levi's because it's just me. I mean,
you know what's funny?
Thing. Button up.
Button ups. I love button. Well, you like button ups.
He likes the button fly Levi's.
Here's what's funny. Most of my clothes I get at the thrift store.
I believe that because because it's a certain look and you just can't go to the department store.
You can't find that kind of stuff.
Yeah, nobody has. You go to Kohl's and you're stuck wearing Nike gear all the time.
The clothes, and I meant to tell you this when I came back the other day from the store. The clothes now are just so hideous.
Yeah. Well, going back to the 80s.
Oh my God.
It's like 80s are coming back.
It's like Little House on the Prairie look.
Hell with that.
They have like a Little House on the Prairie style.
There'll be a lot of single women at that point.
It's like big baggy flowery dresses, and I'm like, what is that?
I think the Little Whorehouse in Texas is one
and it's crop tops for the young kids, and I don't do crop tops.
I don't do crop tops anymore either because it looks like I'm a Buddha, giving birth at some point. But just how it goes.
I don't think I cannot get that out of my mind now.
I know it's pretty frightening. but anyway, so I mean, like I said, I'm impressed with the whole thing, the beard, the dreads, everything kind of. It's so different that people you become memorable and people are like that's the guy that got me my lease, that's the guy that got me my building.
I knew him before I actually knew him.
Well, because didn't Gus work for Tony? Did you work for Tony? Oh, okay.
No, Brandy.
I mean,
but I've seen his picture because of posts with Brandy stuff or whatnot. But but I remembered you because of your hair.
But just classic, casual, and outstanding. But anyway, but that's enough about your look. We don't have to keep bragging about
I'll make sure to get your check in the mail.
How cool you look. I understand that I was reading your bio, and you have you have so many diverse things that you're into. And one of the things that you put down is you're an adventurer. Yeah. So I know that you enjoy hiking, right? You've done some hiking. That's kind of your thing.
I do hiking regularly. Actually, I try to go twice a year to the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're actually about to leave on Saturday, actually. We're leaving this in 2 days.
Wow.
To the Appalachian Trail. And we go backpacking. So we don't just go camping. We go backpacking. We're in the wilderness for this time we'll be there for 5 days.
And so you pack a tent that you can carry, sleeping bags, and
So I'm actually changing it up because you can either tent hike or you can hammock hike, which is
okay.
And I've never done hammock hiking, so it's not terribly comfortable laying on the floor.
Right. Oh yeah.
So I was like, well, let me try hammock. Let me try a hammock, see if it's any good. So for the last 2 weeks, I would say a couple days out of the week, I set up my hammock in my backyard, and I've been sleeping out there just to test it out to see how it's going to be.
Shit, what do you do about the bugs though? I mean,
no, it comes with a
it comes with a net.
Yeah, it comes with a screen and everything. You zip it up, and you're like, bugs don't bother you.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So Lisa and I've been talking about hiking as well. We've been looking at some RVs and just AC, cable TV, toilet.
We
might hike to the community pool.
Yeah, right. Cool. And I noticed that you kayak, right? So
kayak whenever I can. Yeah, well, I like doing anything else outdoors.
Outdoors is your thing.
I've done some there's some cool things that I would really do again.
What's the coolest?
The coolest thing I've ever done?
Yeah.
Well,
besides get married and have 3 girls.
Yeah. Have you jumped out of a plane?
I have. Yeah, that was fun.
Oh,
I was gonna say,
hell no.
He seems like the type.
Yeah, totally.
Type.
But you know what? It's cool, but it's too short of an experience.
It looks like a hell of a long time to me.
No, it's too short of an experience. Like you're dropping for like maybe 60 seconds at most.
Yeah.
That'd be the worst 60 seconds of my life.
Yeah,
right?
no, but it was
We'd be
fun.
crying, shitting our pants. Yeah. That'd be just a disaster. So,
You know
okay,
what's funny is you don't feel like you're falling.
well,
You don't. You're so high. You're so far from the ground. Your body, like your mind, doesn't recognize that you're actually falling. So you don't even feel like you're falling.
Really?
It just feels like a bunch of wind is kind of like going by you.
I'd be seeing God. Hi, God. Hey, just okay. So the most exciting experience that you've had.
Whitewater rafting is my favorite.
Whitewater.
Yeah.
And I know there's different grades of.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
The most I've done is a category 4.
And 5 is like max, like
5 is like
you're stupid, right?
You can die. Yeah.
Right, you can die.
Yeah, 5 you can die.
So 4, I mean, that's got to be pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I prefer like because 4 can get kind of dangerous too. Mm-hmm. So I prefer doing like level 3s with 4 like elements.
Okay.
Because that way you still get a nice exciting ride, and then you have a couple different obstacles that are a little bit more challenging to get through. But the whole ride is not a bunch of obstacles. And I enjoy having fun. I don't want to be going out there like worrying for my life.
Yeah.
That's not fun for me. Yeah. So I did
like jumping out of a plane.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm more lazy river, but I get it because I grew up snow skiing, and so my buddy Scott, he's probably watching the show. My buddy Scott and I would ski all the time. We would ski moguls and experts and black diamonds and blue diamonds.
Yeah, I would never do that. I feel like I'd break my neck doing that.
But then the older that you get, you're like, oh shit, if I fall,
right.
I'm laid up. So now when I go ski, I haven't been skiing in probably 10 years, but when I do go, hopefully I get to go soon here again. I prefer a nice 3-mile run that I'm just kind of gliding.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a little hill. Do that.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff.
You kind of want to zip through, have a little fun, and then every once in a while you have a little obstacle to kind of deal with.
Because healing takes a lot longer. It takes a lot longer.
Exactly.
So.
Wasn't it you that had a really hard fall, or was it Scott?
I had a hard fall. My buddy Scott and I, we were racing down a mountain. Racing.
Okay.
We were flying, and one of my ski bindings came loose.
Now the ski binding is what now?
The binding is what locks your boot in. So I wasn't expecting to crash. So because of the speed and the quickness of turns, I came out of my binding and fell and smashed my head and concussion and that kind of stuff.
Sounds like fun.
Well, I mean, that was like the worst thing because it's one thing when you know you're going to crash, but when you don't know you're going to crash, it's a whole other experience. You're like, oh crap. It sucked. But anyway.
I don't think it's good either.
Right, I was going to say, it sounds like it sucks either way.
Yeah, it sucks either way.
Like, I'm going to fall.
So some of the things that I think a word that caught me was futurist, I think, was listed somewhere.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
So I'm really into technology and like trying new technology. Mm-hmm. I like to kind of like look at like data sets and kind of, I guess speculate as to what could potentially come and, try to, I guess I don't want to say predict because that's a bad word, but just try to think about like what is on the horizon. Right. Because I feel like the more that you can kind of, identify the potential things that are on the horizon, the more you can kind of like set yourself up to take advantage of those circumstances and situations.
Gotcha. So you like to do a little speculating?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, let me offer you some advice because if you're going to do some speculating, Lisa over there is invested in Dogecoin and holy shit, that's gone in the tank. So can you somehow figure out how she's going to make money on that because it's coming back little by little?
Well, it's funny that you say that because Dogecoin is actually one of the only coins I won't invest in.
You know why? Because it's full of shit, right?
It is.
I don't know what's going on there.
I have Cardano too.
That's a good one.
That
well, listen,
really
what I learned for crypto coin, which was really interesting, is that the different coins are actually like applications.
Okay.
They're applications on the blockchain. So
I don't know any of that. So this is all.
What I still don't understand about, and I know quite a bit about it, is when they talk about burning some of them. How do you burn something that's not?
See, I'm not
there.
I'm not familiar with burning crypto. I've not heard that term before.
They say that they're producing so many of them that if they burn a certain number of them, it limits the quantity, which increases the value.
Interesting.
So when they say burning coins, you haven't heard that?
I've not heard that.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I burned plenty of dollars. I know that.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Yeah, Yeah, but I mean, I'm still learning too.
Right.
You know, it's not like I'm not an expert by any means. But what I thought was really interesting was most of the coins, the vast majority of them, they do something. Like they're an application. Like Cardano is an application on Ethereum, and like they actually do stuff. Like some of them are like distributed finance applications, and some of them are storage applications. So they're actually they do something. Dogecoin doesn't do anything.
I think people just like it because it's got a Shiba Inu as a mascot.
Yeah, that is.
And you know what? We have a Shiba Inu at the house, and that is a cash drain also. So it's probably the same thing.
I still believe in Doge, and then now the last couple of days it's been doing a lot. There's a lot of new things going on with it.
It's possible. I mean, crypto's all new. So
and they talk about a Doge Ethereum bridge, which if that happens, that could increase the value.
Listen to you. Holy crap. I mean, you're just, Lisa's been on this. She's obsessed. She knows everything about it.
I wouldn't say everything about it.
But
I mean, you know more than I do, and I feel like I knew a little bit about it, but I never heard of burning coin. That's interesting. I got to look into that.
It's hard to believe you're that cute and that knowledgeable. It's kind of like an oxymoron.
Hey, now.
So, are you much of a philosopher then? I guess. I mean, just like your whole.
I philosophize all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. I'm probably full of shit most of the time.
But that's okay as long as nobody else does it, right?
Have you ever invented anything?
I don't think I
wanted to.
Yes,
like had an idea.
I have a number of ideas.
So do we.
Yeah. I got a great idea. I'm going to bring it up only because I'm never going to do this. But have you ever scrubbed the floor of your shower or tub?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And it's a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
And swimming pool where you
and your swimming pool, we have to scrub algae at the bottom. So I have this idea. It's think of a what's the name of that shoe? What's that ridiculous shoe that everybody?
Crocs?
Okay. So essentially like a Croc with a bristle brush at the bottom.
Okay.
Where you put your foot into it and use your leg to scrub the floor of the shower or the tub or the pool for that matter.
Because
because you have more force with your legs.
Sure. That's how I mop the floor.
Yeah. So that's my idea.
I was in the pool, probably 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago scrubbing.
We had these little green algae spots on the bottom. And I had to put the scrub brush, wedge it onto my foot. And I was using my foot. And he goes, that's why I had this idea.
That's the idea, right? I mean,
that's brilliant.
Brilliant. But of course, all my ideas go down the toilet.
But now you just gave the idea to somebody.
I know, it's all right. Nobody's listening to the show tonight. So this show's copyrighted, please. All copyrighted, licensed, patented, and all that other stuff.
Right.
So getting into some of the things you do, you're very technical also. So I noticed in some of my research that you have partnered with another lady where you do these business seminars, speakers, things like
they're like meetups,
yeah, top 5 technologies you've hosted, and growing your business is simple, and email and text like a Jedi.
Yeah.
So where does all that come from? What motivates you to do those things?
So this kind of goes back to me being a futurist.
Okay.
Right. So I think that the United States has a history, has all kinds of terrible and wonderful things in history. And one of the good things that came out of, I think, the history of the United States was our ability to be innovative,
right?
And be entrepreneurial and all that good stuff, right? And I think we've lost a lot of that, and that's made us it's made it very difficult for us as a nation to be competitive with other nations that are really innovating in ways that we're not doing as much. And a lot of that has there's all kinds of reasons that could be the reason. People talk about whether it's capitalism or socialism, whatever. I don't get into all of that. But at the end of the day, I think entrepreneurial endeavors are really the future of how we as a nation will be successful. Right?
I agree.
And so that kind of really drives my interest in entrepreneurs and getting people to be entrepreneurs and be better entrepreneurs and all that good stuff. And while I don't know that I'm an expert entrepreneur, but I've had some successes, and then I know other people who have had successes, and I wanted to. It's funny because when I first put that together, my thought was, let me get together with other entrepreneurs and we can kind of chat about what each of us are doing.
Right.
And when I got there and I started putting the meetup together, people were just showing up wanting to learn because they didn't know what to do. So then I was like, oh, well, maybe I need to make this more of like a teaching. I mean, not that I knew a lot, but I can bring other people who know stuff. And I ended up, doing that where I would partner with different entrepreneurs and stuff. And we started doing this meetup regularly. After a while, it got difficult to find on new entrepreneurs on every session.
Sure.
So I partnered with MJ Coleman, who is a local. She is a MAPS business coach.
Okay.
So
I remember her.
Yeah. So
you know her?
I
Okay.
worked at Keller Williams.
Oh, okay.
She used to run it.
yeah.
Right.
So she has a huge background in business development and entrepreneurial creation and improving and next level stuff, and most of my expertise besides real estate is in marketing. So really my area of knowledge is like real estate and marketing, and as far as business is concerned, there's not much I can share with relation to real estate, but I can share a lot on marketing.
Sure.
But in terms of like operational stuff, like she came in and really brought in a lot of different elements, to kind of share like how can you make your business better? What can you be doing? What are you doing wrong? What are you doing right? And she was really good because she came from the perspective of not telling you what to do. She would just kind of ask you a bunch of questions so that you can kind of self-realize the things that you need to do to make your business better. And then she would capitalize on, okay, that, like,
Right.
why aren't you doing that? And then, people would be like, oh, why aren't I doing that? You're right. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier was, after all these years in the printing business, I actually stepped back and said, let me go back to the basics.
Yeah.
Let me go back to the basics of just simply saying thank you to a client that gave me business.
Oh, yeah.
Because the clients come in, they've picked up their stuff, they're happy with their stuff, and off they go. And I thought, you know what? Just by sending a thank you note, it expresses to the client, wow, you know, he felt that whatever business I gave him was important.
Yeah.
And
it's like a thank you economy, right? Like the Gary Vee, that's what I was talking about before.
But it should be. I mean, you should always be grateful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And part of the social media thing, I go back many years, and I saw this guy. Well, one of the first guys that was doing video podcasting, or I don't know what they called it back then.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name. He's a British guy. And if you go to YouTube, you can find him, and it's called Help My Business Sucks. And he talks about all different types of businesses, whether they're Fortune 50 businesses or basic businesses.
Yeah.
And his slogan, and I believe the slogan 1,000%, he said, everything is marketing, and marketing is everything. And I think in a nutshell, that's really, and that's part what of Tiki Hut Central is it's getting business owners like yourself to come on to talk about marketing and what you do to generate clients and maintain clients and relationships and all those things.
Yeah.
And just like you said, you do these little seminars for people, and people would come in, and sometimes you learn from them.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I found many people have the ideas, and they say, they may say, hey, Gus, I was thinking about doing this, and then your light goes on and say, why aren't you? That's a great idea.
It's brilliant. Yeah, do that.
But it's brilliant, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's
Right.
well, I don't have the time or whatever, and it's
then excuses come here.
So I would think all of your shows like Tactics in Business and Market Like a Jedi and all these things. I think all of it comes down to is you're giving people those light bulb moments. That,
Absolutely.
Boom.
Yeah.
Well, I can do that. I'm an email every day. Why can't I send out an email? Why can't I do that? So
I mean, for me, anything I can do to cultivate someone to, be an entrepreneur or improve in their business so they don't give up on that, like anything I can do to move that needle.
Just move the needle a little bit, and it could be huge. It could be the difference between opening their doors and closing them.
Absolutely.
Really.
And I again, this goes back to my sort of my mindset, my philosophy that entrepreneurs are the future of us as a nation. So, if I can play a part in helping people to be entrepreneurial and be better in there, and I can learn too. I mean, a lot of it is me learning. I get a chance to learn from all these folks because they may be doing something that's happened plenty of times. Like you said, we'll be in the middle of a session and someone raises their hand and talks about something that they're doing, and I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah, I
need to implement that in my business. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's where people that do seminars, I think that's where they lose out is that somebody once said that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you speak. And sometimes those speakers, they speak so much they don't listen, and there's an idea.
Yeah.
There's something I can do for my business. I didn't even realize that, because we don't know everything.
Yeah, of course not.
I like to think that I know something about putting ink on paper, but I'm, just like you, I'm always open to new ideas. And speaking of ideas and things like that, I mean, we might as well jump into the subject of the night, which is commercial real estate.
Oh yeah, exciting.
Real estate is exciting, and Lisa and I have realized that in order to be a resident of Southlake County, either you or your spouse must be a realtor, because there's a realtor every 3 feet.
Yeah.
So I know that Joe Carlisle differentiates himself in saying he's a plain vanilla realtor, which he's not. He's over and above that. And you've gone in a completely different direction and done commercial real estate.
Yeah.
So how has commercial real estate been for you as opposed to residential?
So I think both sides have been different in that when I say both sides, both on the client, how you're the type of client you're working with, and then also the agents that you're working with. So on the client side, unless you're talking about someone who's owned a business and run out of their business out of a property, most of the time there's not a lot of emotional connection to the property.
Sure.
Right? So they may have an emotional connection to their business, but the property itself, unless the property was a big part of their business.
It was handed down from generation to generation.
Or maybe it was just the property itself was something like, maybe they built that, hostel or bread and breakfast or something like that. Unless it's something like that.
Sure, that's more of an intimate.
Yeah. But most of the time it's very much about what makes sense. Right. So the type of person that you're working with is usually kind of business oriented in some capacity, and it's just different. It's not as much of an emotional purchase or sale for the client. On the agent side, what I found was there's actually quite a number of agents on the commercial side that they're just not very responsive. They're not terribly helpful. They're just.
It's kind of like that with residential too.
Well,
no, but I mean, there's not as many commercial agents, so it's much more obvious because you only have you got so less people to choose from, and then of those people to choose from, they're all not very responsive and not terribly helpful. There are a few, of course, like anything, but I was really surprised that it wasn't about trying to help the client out. It was okay, we're going to get through this transaction. So so that was interesting to see that dynamic. And again, like I said, there are exceptions all around, but so that was really interesting. I mean, for me, I really because I started in residential, I really enjoyed just kind of serving the client and trying to help them achieve whatever their goals or dreams are, right?
Of course.
And most of the time, if they're in commercial, if they're owner operator, they have the dream to have their business in a certain type of building. If they're if they're an investor, then maybe that investment is going to help pay for their retirement or
their next investment
or whatever, right? Yeah, exactly. So, just kind of being there to kind of understand where they're coming from, and it's funny because I tend to ask a lot of questions, but that's because the more I know, the better I can serve them, and oftentimes, I get a little bit of a kind of a weird you're asking a lot of questions, Gus. So I have to really make sure that they understand. I'm asking this because I need to understand what's your ultimate goal here, because the better I understand what your
ultimate goal is, instead of we're trying to get this land or this building,
because there might be other options they may not know or realize. Because in commercial, there's so many other. It's not like in a house you're just kind of buying a house that kind of fits what your family's needs are. But with real estate, there are so many different ways that you can kind of make your goal happen that people don't recognize. And that can be from a financing side, that can be from whether you're finding something that exists, changing its use, building something new, partnering with someone. There's all kind of ways. I was talking with a client of mine who's they're at church, and they were like, "Oh, we don't know if we can afford to get into a building, but we would love it. That's our goal." And so I was asking them okay, well, tell me a little bit more about your church. And they have 4 other businesses. 4.
Okay.
other businesses that are currently running with their church, and they're paying leases on all 4.
Oh, okay. So they've got
Yeah.
income that they didn't really consider.
They're not even thinking about that stuff. So I had to share with them, like, listen, with those 4 businesses, that's all income. Like,
Sure.
You don't have to have that much. Like, you need a little bit of cash, and now you have these 4 businesses that can be your leases into a building. So in other words, now you can have those businesses pay for that building. And I mean, they just didn't realize. They're like, oh my God, no, you can even do that. So just understanding what the ultimate goal is and like what their capabilities are, and then being able to share with them like what options they have.
Sure. Well, I think the biggest difference between commercial real estate and residential is what Joe Carlisle talked about last week, and you missed it. It was great. He was talking about vegetables and fruits, and how vegetables, you can plant seeds. Vegetables grow quickly, 60 to 90 days, and you reap whatever they've grown, but then you have to replant and replant and replant.
Yeah.
Like residential real estate, you're constantly replanting, and that, where with commercial real estate, like a fruit tree, commercial deals don't happen every day.
No.
It could be 6 months, a year, a couple of years. Maybe they're looking at some land that you have to go through the EPA. Maybe you have to go through Florida Fish and Wildlife, whatever it may be. Maybe there's animals on that and all of this other zoning stuff. And
that's if someone's already active. Like on the. I mean, it goes even earlier, because you also have people that they have a business and they need to find a space for their business, so they're going to lease something for now.
Correct.
They're going to be in that lease for 3 years, let's say, and then they've grown big enough where like, hey, we want to buy something now, or maybe they need to grow into they want a bigger lease or whatever. So those relationships are really, really important.
And it's long term, because you have feasibility studies. You know the growth of their business, whether they want to do a land lease or build something on the land or whatever. With commercial real estate, it's quite a bit different than residential. So when you get down to commercial leases, what are some of the important things that a business person needs to look for when they're looking for new space? Like, for example, the space that I'm in here, that we're in here at the beach, we don't have a lease. We're month to month.
Okay.
And while month to month is okay, because I know that my landlord will give me six months to find a place, it prohibits me from doing tenant leasehold improvements.
Yeah.
And so, so why is it important to have a business lease, and what normally would a business person see as far as a term of a business lease?
So,
and let's talk about starting out, or maybe a business that's been in business just a few years, where they don't have a lot of resources, they can't build anything. And
gotcha. So, some of that's going to depend a lot on like the resources that the business has. And a big portion of that is also going to depend on whether or not the tenant can show some activity, like how much activity the tenant can show. Like, in other words, if they've been in business, like what are their finances looking like?
Right.
Because you have to remember, from the landlord's perspective, they're taking a risk on the business,
certainly,
right? To see, well, I'm going to give you this lease for 3 years, let's say, and then are you going to be able to do enough business to cover that lease?
Right.
Because if not, then I could be out, right? And especially if you're talking about like negotiating tenant improvement, for example.
Correct.
So if you're able to come in, if your realtor is able to negotiate some tenant improvement dollars, well, the landlord needs to weigh that against, well, am I going to be able to make my money back? Because usually tenant improvement dollars may mean that the first year of rent is pretty much a wash.
Correct, because of the cost of the improvements that the landlord taking care of.
Exactly. So if that's the case, if they go through that and then they go ahead and a year later you're out of business, they're pretty much out of business that entire year. They've lost that entire year.
And they've lost because they've done those improvements that now that they've spent that money, they're not recouping.
Right.
And it may not work for the next people coming along.
Sure.
Exactly. So I guess where the business is going to make a big difference. If you're a brand new business, typically you're not going to get tenant improvement dollars. You might get maybe some very small amount, but usually you don't get very much.
Like paint and carpet, but
exactly.
Not knocking out walls and all that.
Exactly. The landlord will put that on the tenant, but that's okay. I mean, if you don't have that history, at least the landlord's willing to give you the lease, because there are some landlords that will not work with new businesses.
Right.
Because they don't want to take that risk.
Right.
So if you have a landlord that's willing to take that risk with you, then that's good. That means you have a landlord that's open to you kind of going into it. I mean, some things just to general things to be aware of is there are leases that are what are called triple net.
Right. So explain a little bit about triple net, because people see $15 a square foot N.
Right.
So what the hell does that mean?
So you can actually have single net, double net, or triple net.
Okay.
And triple net is technically supposed to mean that after you pay that $15 a square foot, the triple net is almost like an HOA, right, per square foot. So you might pay another $4 to $6 on triple net per square foot. That usually covers the property taxes, insurance, and general maintenance. And again, it will depend on the landlord. Sometimes it may also include some other element, like maybe water, or if the building is wired in a way that the landlord can't split it up, that may include electricity
or wireless connection,
something,
whatever.
Right? So you got to look and see what's included in that triple net. But typically, it's basically your property insurance, your taxes, and your common area maintenance is essentially what it normally covers. But you have to make sure you read the lease, because triple net is not, there's no real standard in commercial.
Okay.
So even though it may be the norm for it to include that, it may not necessarily. So they may say CAM, right, and they call it a triple net, but they may just mean common area maintenance, and there may be other fees that they
on top of that. Right.
Yeah. So just make sure that you're understanding, the difference between, the net, double net, triple net leases, and then there's modified gross, which is the other common type of lease. And modified gross is basically they just wrap up all of those fees into one number. So instead of paying your $15 plus your triple net, you're just paying, let's say, $20, and that's it.
Plus sales tax, or
maybe there's sales tax.
Sales tax.
Yeah, but that's it. But you don't pay anything
modified
else.
Gross.
So looking at that, you're going to want to know what's included, because even modified gross is also it's modified gross.
Right.
So you want to know, well, what's included. Are there going to be any other fees that I have to pay or stuff like that? So, I think it's always a good idea when you're going into a lease, after you do the initial negotiations. One of the things that I always recommend all my clients do is have an attorney review that lease with you.
Right.
Because you may think you understand what's going on, and some of these leases are super crafty, and they're written by attorneys designed to be crafty so that the layperson doesn't know.
Sure.
And
It can be very confusing.
Right.
Very long, very detailed.
Exactly. And I might see something and know that there's a problem, but as a real estate agent, I can't make any recommendations. Like, I'm not an attorney.
Right.
I can get in trouble by making any recommendations.
So you can't even say, hey, this looks kind of funky. Can you check it?
I can say that, hey, there's, I can point something out.
And say, hey, why don't you check this out? Or, okay.
So I can say, hey, listen, term number 5, it's a little bit out of the ordinary. I would have an attorney take a look at that for you.
So you can give some simple.
I can give direction.
Say, hey, why don't you take a look at this, because it's kind of funky.
But I can't make any recommendations as I just, otherwise I'd be technically practicing law, and that's illegal.
Right.
Right.
So now, you have your triple net, your modified gross. Now I understand that certain businesses that are in malls, for example.
Yeah.
Don't they have like a different type of lease where sometimes their lease is based on sales or gross sales, where they have to report?
Yeah, there are some leases that are written like that. We don't have a lot of that here.
Not here, but maybe like a Millennium Mall, like Coach handbags has to sell X number of handbags at a rate to.
Well, no, the way that works typically is so you have your standard. You have they'll have a flat rate that you have to pay. Like it's a minimum flat rate you have to pay, and then it'll be a percentage of sales revenues.
I see. Okay. So
they'll look at your sales revenues, which you have to report once a month, right, to showcase what your sales are, and then you have to pay a portion of that into on top of whatever the lease is, and that's on top of whatever your triple net CAM.
Okay. So that's like a plus.
Yeah. I mean, but
is that mostly just like retail?
It's usually exclusively retail that does that.
Right.
And it's typically in like he said, like a Millennium Mall, like usually a high-end mall, high traffic mall.
Sure.
Because what they're betting on is they're like, listen, we know we're going to bring in a lot of traffic
because of our brand, or
just because we're the Millennium Mall,
right.
right? So they know they're going to bring a lot of traffic. So they get you with look, the rate is not too crazy, right? But you have to share your sales revenues, and that's where they'll make a chunk of money.
Right.
But that only really applies to the smaller stores. Usually the bigger stores, the anchor stores.
The anchor stores don't deal with that.
They don't play with any of that. Yeah.
Well, I think you brought up a very good point, and it's something that I'm one of those guys that I'll pay the piper. I would much rather show my income when I file my taxes, and I'll pay taxes on it. But at the end of the day, if I need to borrow money, if I need to get another lease, if I need to show sales to a potential landlord, I can do that.
Yeah.
So
it's advantageous for you to do that, especially if your numbers are good.
Yeah, because like I know here, I would love to stay here and sign a 3-year or a 5-year. I would sign a freaking 10-year lease here, but I know I can go anywhere because I can show the numbers.
Yep.
They can pull my credit, my personal credit, my business credit, and then it's just a matter of me negotiating the best terms that I can get. Do you see more 3-year leases or 5-year leases, or is it a combination of both? What's the advantage to getting a longer lease? So commercially,
I guess we're starting to see a lot more 3-year leases now because I guess where the economy is.
Right.
So landlords are being a little bit more flexible. But I would say 3 to 5 is still pretty normal. That's pretty. It's been pretty standard for quite some time. Medical leases tend to be longer. They usually go to 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
But they also tend to have tenant improvement, and so there's a lot more money that's kind of involved. The pros to having a longer lease is what you're getting into for the time, right? So you go in, and if you're in a 5-year lease, you know what your lease amount is going to be. You can calculate that. That's not going to change. Right. You're good to go. You know what your numbers are, right? I guess the advantage to having a shorter term lease is if you're a newer business and you have to put a personal guarantee on the lease, and there's a chance that you might not make it. Well, if you're on a shorter term lease, then you're not on the hook for as
less
much.
liability.
There's less liability. So, but at the same time, the drawback to a shorter lease is after that lease is done, that lease gets renegotiated.
Right.
So if the market has gone up, which typically it does, right? If the market has gone up, then the likelihood is the landlord's going to be asking for market rents. And if you're paying, rents from 2 to 3 years ago, you're now paying whatever the market is because that's what the landlord's going to ask for.
Right.
See, I think my thing really is, for me, my philosophy is get the longest lease you can get, because the worst case scenario is if your business fails, it's going to fail anyway. So whether it fails in 6 months, a year, you can't get blood from a stone.
Yeah, totally.
I think with where our business is, being in business 15 years and being mature, we know exponentially how much more space we're going to need over the next 10 years. Sure. So it's easier for us to
calculate that. Yeah.
We'll do a 5-year lease or 7-year lease because we're only going to grow so exponentially.
Yeah. I think honestly from a business perspective, it makes more sense for you to get the longest possible lease
and TI money.
Yeah, if you can.
Yeah.
Because then you can and usually that's what you're trading.
Yes.
Like you're like, okay, well, I'll stay here for 7 years, right? If you'll give me a new
lobby or
whatever, whatever,
sure.
Right? You could kind of exchange that. So, and like I said, rather, like you said, you can calculate that. Like, what that calculation is. You don't have to guess. You don't have to wonder. Like, after 3 years, if we renegotiate, well, what if the leases go up by 25%? Am I going to be able to? That changes my whole business model.
Sure, then I may have to move, or
and that's a cost on its own.
And I really think with landlords, especially big landlords, I think if you sign a 5-year lease or a 6-year, 7-year, whatever the number is, I would think that if you go back to the landlord and say, look, we're in a bind, we need to expand, landlord's going to say, sure, let's rip up that lease and put you in another lease, a bigger lease, bigger space, more improvements. One of the big things that comes up on a lot of our shows, and a question that I always like to ask our guests so that our viewers and listeners understand, explain to our guests why it's so important to do business locally with doing business with Gus, who is in commercial real estate here in Southlake County? What are the benefits of doing it with you versus going online and finding an online place that has some land or a building and you can go that way? Why should we go local?
So I have a personal philosophy on that. It's not mine by any means, but I'm a big believer in local economy. Mm-hmm. And, the more that you can keep money in the community, the better the community ends up being from an economic standpoint.
Sure.
So big picture, macro level, I think it's just a good long-term play to do business with people who are local, right. just from a, hey, this is good for my community. Right. And then from a personal perspective, like why it's good to work with someone who's local is typically the person who's local has so much more familiarity with the local landscape, mm-hmm. whether that's a marketing person or a realtor or a designer or whatever. They're just more familiar with what's going on locally, mm-hmm. Where you can source materials and all that good stuff, whatever it is, whether you sell widgets or you provide a service. And
widgets.
Yeah.
Or shoes to clean your shower.
Exactly, or shoes to clean your showers. Exactly. But I mean, I think that local knowledge, I think, makes a big difference.
Yeah.
For specifically in my business, I think it makes a huge difference because I have very intimate knowledge about what the economic and real estate landscape looks like in Southlake.
So you have it's a pulse. You have a pulse on what's going on locally.
Yeah. So like I know what developments are going mm-hmm. down. I know what projects are happening that are mm-hmm. going to be improving the capability for commercial projects mm-hmm. in the future. Like I'm able to kind of like provide. You can say it's speculation, but I know that they're already in the works.
Sure. Well, right? You go to the city meetings and you see what's being proposed. And
exactly. So I can tell you in 5 years, this is going to be happening here. Mm-hmm. This is the traffic potential here.
Right.
I mean, for example, in Groveland, for example, Groveland has the 50 bypass. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard about this yet. So the downtown right now, 50 goes right through downtown. Right. So you got basically all the trucks and the
traffic.
That's not walkable at all. It's dangerous. Right. So Groveland has decided that they really want to have walkable downtown.
Okay.
So what they've worked with the FDOT to create a bypass. Mm-hmm. So in other words, the 50 is going to go just north about a block of downtown.
Is that where that road goes now behind the gas station?
It's not that one. It's going to go further north than that.
Okay.
But 50 is going to pretty much go on the north side of the of downtown.
More of a highway.
Yeah. So that way downtown they can put cobblestone roads. Right. They can put parking. It could be walkable. So that they can really make a walkable downtown.
Sure.
They can have farmers markets and stuff because there's no way you can do that now.
Yeah.
You got to stop 50.
Yeah. They go up to like Lake David or something, and
So
there used to be a train because I grew up in Groveland.
Yeah, there used to be a train there.
There used to be a train there that we would have to stop before we'd go to school. We'd have to wait on the train.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, where did it come through? Did it come through 50 or?
Right at 19 and 50.
Oh, okay.
On the north side.
There used to be a big orange company.
Yeah, it was orange. I thought it was a log company. Wasn't it a log company?
Is that the big orange company that was on the right side of the road as you head down there?
Pre-peeled fruit or something.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and there was like a little train station.
Yeah, it was a huge.
I don't know if it's still there. The little building that they left for a long time.
It actually is still there.
Is it?
Yeah, they're gonna tear it down though.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's something that like if unless you're local, you wouldn't know that. Like someone an agent from outside of the area wouldn't know that, right? So and other things like residential usually is a key indicator for how good commercial is going to be in an area.
Sure.
And understanding what the impact of residential is going to help a commercial company understand whether that's going to be a good play for them. Well, I can share locally. Well, Groveland and Mascot right now have almost 30,000 home sites approved.
Wow.
Now they're going to probably take like 15 years to make all that real. Right. But I mean, anyone who's got, who's going to expect to stay there for the next 15 to 20 years, 7-Eleven, McDonald's, Burger King.
Well, you can see that right across the street from us in Mineola with the new Publix opening up on the 9th,
Because they know that that's coming.
Yeah. I mean, because I know the city of Mineola has talked and they would like to develop a quote unquote downtown Mineola with shops and things like that.
And they're looking to do that on the north side of Hancock.
Yeah, on the north side of Hancock. Much like Winter Garden has done. I mean, Winter Garden, I think, has really become a blueprint for what these smaller cities want to do.
Absolutely.
Because it's walkable. You have restaurants. You have boutiques.
Yep.
You have family events, and it's just it's just a great walkable. You can take a bicycle, strollers,
and they worked
pets.
with. And what was good about Winter Garden is they worked with what they had.
Yeah,
like they didn't change the charm.
Yeah, they couldn't change anything. They just had to update and get businesses to believe.
Yeah,
Crooked Can was a. I think Crooked Can was really the first business that I've seen in all my years where they said, we're going to build a brewery in this massive building.
Yeah.
And we're going to sublet all of these. It's a brilliant. It's like, holy shit, here's this idea. We're going to sublet all of these smaller businesses because they will all generate revenue for us, and you develop, and it's great for business. So I mean, it's
now you see it here in Claremont.
Yeah. Well, downtown Claremont's doing it now too.
A variation of it. Yeah, it's not the same, but similar. Yeah.
Well,
my wife and I are actually looking to do something like that too.
Well, I think the city of Claremont for years was always big on impact fees, and you know what? Don't worry about the impact fees because by letting businesses come in, develop, upscale businesses that generate traffic, you're going to generate revenue anyway. Yeah, you're still going to generate the revenue. So it's really irrelevant. One of the things I like to ask people is, what are some of the key things that you do as a business person to help you generate clients, to generate business? Now, just to segue back, you've got these seminars that you've done. Yeah, and how has doing something outside of the box, much like our crazy show here. Yeah. How has doing something outside of the box helped you in your business by people understanding that you're more than I'll find you a space? Yeah. So that it's funny that was really it turned out to be a really big branding play for me. It wasn't really a marketing tool. I wasn't trying to necessarily generate business from it. It just made me just sort of seen as local. I don't want to say expert, but just someone who's familiar with what's going on locally and can share some good information and can bring on other people that are experts in their field. The thing for me, I'm a huge believer in just relationship building. What I do is I try to build relationships with people, and I don't. I'm not a big sales guy. I don't really try to close. I'm not, I just try to, help people solve problems, build relationships. And what's cool about that is I get a chance to connect people who I can solve problems indirectly. And then all of a sudden I become a resource. So, you have a print shop, for example. And if someone comes to me and they're like, oh man, I need to get cards printed, or I'm looking to do something. Oh, you know what? I know somebody. Sure. I know someone who can help you out. Let me become a conduit. Yeah.
And I may not necessarily benefit directly from that, but I do benefit from it because now I'm the resource that they're going to call. Hey, Gus, do you know someone who does whatever it is, right? But
then the time's going to come when I say, hey, Gus, I need a space. Yeah. I have a friend that needs a space. Right.
But they're going to remember because I usually will, because I constantly remind them. I'm like, listen, I'm a commercial real estate agent. I'm not a printer. Right? It's like what was it from Star Trek? Damn it, Jim.
Damn it, Jim. Damn it, Jim. I don't know why he used to say that. I used to watch it all the time, though.
I'm a realtor, not a print shop.
Well, I think but the reality is being a conduit, I think, pays dividends over and over and over again. There's many times being in the printing business, I get a phone call and somebody needs signage or they want to wrap a vehicle. Sure. I have two choices. Gee, Gus, we just don't do that. Yeah. Or the other choice, gee, Gus, we just don't do that. But if you reach out to Pam at Graphics Direct in Mineola, here, I've got her number. Yeah. Give her a call. All of a sudden, I was a conduit to helping them. And down the road, they may say, I need the printing. I know where to go for that guy. Yeah. I do the same thing when people always call for those freaking name tags. Yeah. Or they want embossing on a Bible or something like that. Sure. And instead of me saying, no, I don't do that, I say, Gus, I don't do that, but if you call Trophies Unlimited in Winter Garden on Dillard Street, just past the bowling alley, here's their number. They can assist you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so many people say, wow, thanks so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And being a conduit, I guess the thought process is that hopefully when they need you for what you do, they'll be like, I'm going to call Gus because, he helped me out with something he couldn't do for me, but he was the conduit that led me to that.
Reciprocity is powerful.
It's massive.
Yeah, it's powerful. I mean, and the universe kind of works itself out. So, the more that you...
Good karma.
Yeah, the more you put out and help others, the more, that'll come back to you tenfold. So I'm a real big believer in that.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. Now, you and I both know the answer to this question, but answer it for our listeners. Why is it so important to network?
So, well, can I say first before I answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, why? How is networking helping you to be a better realtor?
Yeah, no, let me get to that. The one thing that you should not be doing in networking, just real quick, because I see people do this all the time. Don't sell.
Right.
Don't go to a networking event and try to pitch me on your product or service.
Right.
That's not the time to do that.
Correct.
Right. So I get that all the time, and I'm just like, man, I just don't.
And that's a novice thing.
Yeah. I don't know, because I've seen some people that are pretty like senior, and that's what they're doing. I don't know that works. I've never seen that work.
I think it's very negative.
I think so too. Like you become the used car sales guy.
Well,
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Well, I had a guy last week. He sent me a message on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Hey, this is, I don't remember his name, Joe Schmo.
Yeah.
I just sent you a friend request, and usually I'll accept friend requests from everybody just because it just builds.
Yeah.
So I accept his friend request, and then his next message is, I would like to come in and speak to you about your life insurance policies. I'm like,
you don't even know who I am.
You don't know who I am. I mean, I friend requested you because maybe we had some common interests or we know some common people or we're acquaintances through somebody else, and right away you pitch me.
Yeah.
Don't pitch me.
So the networking component for me, at least, and I can't speak for anybody else, but what's worked for me is, again, going back to building relationships.
Right.
Because people will work with people they trust.
Right.
And when you build relationships over time, you end up trusting those people, and then you're willing to do business with them because you trust them.
Right.
So, networking, I primarily do network marketing. That's most of what I do. And what's cool about that is that I end up getting phone calls randomly from people, and they're like, "Hey, I'm looking for a property, and I was told that you're the person to talk to."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Oh, well, who'd you talk to?" And they'll say a name, and I don't even recognize the name.
Sure.
Wow.
Because but they remembered me, and they referred that person to give me a call, and there we go. We have now, you know what I'm saying? So network marketing for me works really well. And hey, listen, that's not for everybody. Some people, that's not their jam, and they have there's plenty of different marketing tools in the tool belt. Mine is network marketing because I think I do really well talking to people. I'm
absolutely
really good face to face with people, and so that works for me.
And by having the look that you have, people remember you. So every time you network, you're putting your face out.
Yeah, it's like a branding.
So people remember you.
Well, one of the things that I'm going to bring up are and this is my testimonial. So if you're listening, this is my testimonial. So I had met Gus through some business leaders meetings in chamber, and hi, how are you, whatever. And Gus sends me a text. Hey, let's get together for some coffee. We'll meet up at the Outpouring over by Waffle House. And I was telling Lisa about it. I'm like, I don't know what this guy's going to try to sell me, or I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm like, but you know what? It's an invitation. Let me go.
Yeah.
And so I go to the Outpouring, and there's Gus, and we're just chatting about life and persons and, what we do and hobbies and things. And there was no sale. All Gus wanted to do was get to know me, because getting to know people is really the key to growing anything, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a business, whether it's, anything. And so to me, I left our meeting and I was like, wow, that was pretty incredible. He just wanted to talk to me.
Yeah.
He just wanted to get to know me.
Yeah.
But I had so much reservation about what's he pitching me? And then I'm Googling online the outpouring, and they raise money for
Malawi.
For Malawi and countries. And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a pitch for me to write a check, buy 8 tons of coffee from Malawi. I don't even know. And the reality was, you just wanted to get to know me. And so to me, that was such a pure way to build our relationship. It was so different than what I expected. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, don't go to a function and try to sell who you are.
Yeah.
People will ask you, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah.
And just tell them, this is who I am. This is what I do. And that's the last thing you want to talk about. I mean, I learned many years ago, because I used to teach franchise owners how to cold call.
Yeah.
Where you'd go into a business and introduce yourself and whatever. And I would take them out, and we would go into the decision maker's office. And for me, I'm not selling printing today. I'm looking around the office. There's a golf trophy. There's a picture of his son playing soccer. There's these different things. And so for me, I would say, Gus, your son plays soccer. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
You talk about soccer. Oh, you got that golf trophy. Was that like a tournament you went to or whatever? And you telling me, oh, we had a company tournament, blah, blah, blah. And we never talk about anything to do with printing.
Yeah.
And, for those of you listening to the show, ideally, that's what you want to do, is you want to learn who that person is. And if you show a genuine interest in who they are and not what they can do for you, I think that it'll come back to you, reciprocally. Is that right? Reciprocally?
Yeah, I think that's the right word.
Yeah, I don't forget.
It's close enough.
It's close enough.
Well, what's interesting is, I decided, early on that whenever I was going to meet with anybody, like I was like, okay, I want to build a relationship, and my goal is well, what can I do to help you?
Sure.
Like, I'm not going in there to say, what can I do for me? I'm saying, what can I do to help you? And that's why, like, for me, like, it's important for me to know who you are, what you do, what you're into, because there may be something that you need, that I can like, oh, well, I know someone that can help you with that.
But it was such a, it was a genuine, it was like, wow, he just wanted to talk to me. That was it. Yeah. There was no other, and there may be an ulterior motive down the road. I mean, so maybe when I'm looking for a commercial space, I'll say, Gus, what's coming up on the market? But it was so, I was hesitant, but it was so pure. When I left our coffee at Outpouring, I was like, wow, Gus has a genuine interest in me. Yeah. And not what I can do for him or what he can do for me. It was and to me, I mean, those are the friendships that you build and you build on, and it builds relationships in business. Hopefully it comes. I mean, sometimes it doesn't come, but look, at the end of the day, it's a friendship that you didn't have.
Right. And I mean, honestly, oftentimes, most of the time, it doesn't turn into business, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
I mean, worst case scenario, like you said, we're friends, and now we can hang out and go have a beer. And
if somebody says to me, hey, Ken, I'm looking for a commercial space, hey, call Gus.
Yeah.
Because that's, your name's on the tip of my tongue, call Gus. Mm-hmm. So, I was going to ask you, what activities are good to invest your time in as a realtor, but obviously, we both know, it's networking. It's getting out there and talking to people and telling people who you are, what you do. And being genuine, really.
Yeah.
Because the business will come. Either if they like you, they like you. If they don't.
Right.
They don't.
I would add something to that.
Yeah.
I would say that making it a point to prioritize, like, as from a business perspective, prioritizing what is going to move the needle for your business, and identifying that, like, for today, what's going to move the needle for my business today.
Sure.
And identifying what that one thing is. Right. There's actually a book called The One Thing. Are you familiar with this one?
No. I read John Grisham. That's it. As far as I get.
So it's a really good book. It's actually by Gary Keller. And he talks in the book. He talks a lot about, like, focus, and that one of the things that we have a challenge with just as human beings is we try to multitask, which is a terrible idea for humans. Right. And I actually just watched Mark Donahue, who's a local agent. He's the team leader actually for our brokerage. And he actually made a really good analogy that I thought was really, really powerful in my mind. He said, okay, well, let's say you're at a river and you need to get across the river. and you start building a bridge, and you build, let's say the first 10 feet of that bridge. And then you decide, you know what, I'm going to build another bridge. And you start building 10 feet of that bridge. And you keep like building.
Restarting.
Yeah, you keep starting all these different bridges. And when are you going to get to the end? When are you going to get up to the other side? You'll never get there because you're doing too many things,
Right.
as opposed to just focusing on just building that one bridge to get you to the other side. So that concept, I think, is super powerful strictly from a business.
Yeah, I mean, always move forward and have point of direction.
Yeah, and focus. I mean, I have squirrel syndrome like nobody's business, so I have a hard time with it myself. But I mean, I really try diligently to prioritize what my day is going to look like, so that I feel like I was productive. So even I might have a list of 5 things, right, and I might not get through all 5 things, but if I get through those first 2 and they're like super important ones, I'm going to still feel like I was productive.
Sure. No, I think that's huge. I think even in a printing business, I get clients to come in. Realtors probably more than others, and they want to do a mail campaign, but they want a shotgun.
Everybody, right?
I want to mail to 34711. No, you don't. No, you don't. Why not? Well, because it's just impossible. And as you know, in real estate, you talk about farming. Pinpoint an area that you want to farm, and I ask them specific questions. What is your goal? What do you want to accomplish? What's your budget? And how good are you at maintaining consistency?
Yeah.
In what you want to do. And they're always surprised. They say, well, consistency, why? Well, because if you're doing a mailing to a subdivision of 700 homes, telling them you're the realtor and blah, 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 and you send out that mailing and there's no consistency to the program, you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
But if you can commit to consistently mailing to them over the next 6 to 9 to 12 months, now we can talk about building a campaign. They're like, well, why? Because I explain to them all the time, the first mailing people get of you, whatever you're doing, you can be selling widgets like we said earlier, or shoe brushes. It's in the trash. Second one's in the trash. Third one's, fourth one. But then all of a sudden,
familiar.
Oh, Gus Ortiz, commercial real estate. Oh, that's nice. Well, but all of a sudden, hey, have you seen that postcard from that guy Gus Ortiz doing a commercial real estate? Well, no, but all of a sudden now they know.
Yeah.
Let me Google that guy. I got to find that guy in commercial property. So it's building that consistency, and that's probably your broker's analogy of continuing on the same path. Keep building that same path. Don't try to do 20 things at once. Just focus on one and just move forward.
And do that really well. Yeah, do that one thing really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, just be great at one thing.
Right. You can build all 10 bridges, just don't build them all at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Between last year and really up to today, how has COVID affected how you conduct business, and how are you conducting business differently now than before this craziness hit?
So, I guess, a lot of what network marketing is a really big part of my marketing strategy. And as you and everybody watching knows, pretty much most gatherings kind of went away last year. So that was kind of a big hit on just my engagement with people.
Right.
So I really try to find ways to be more engaging. That and not in like, oh, I'm blasting on social media. More of like, okay, well, you know what? Instead of going to networking, why don't I, make some phone calls and call a couple of people that I would otherwise maybe see at a networking event, or send text messages.
Sure. Hey, what's up?
Yeah. And a lot of it was that. It was just like, it wasn't even like, oh, are you looking for something in real estate? It was just like, hey, what's up? How are you holding up?
Yeah.
Because, COVID was crazy.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So, that kind of changed, my modus operandi.
So you're more proactive in reaching out.
Yeah. And then once people started networking again, then I kind of pulled back from that, because it's, you can't, at least I didn't have enough time to be able to do those phone calls and go to networking event.
Right.
So once I got back into, now that we're starting to do networking events again, and there are some that are like, for example, I'm with BNI, for example, and they're still virtual. They're not doing any in-person events. But there's other organizations that they are doing events, and they're just saying, hey, just be respectful of other people's space, and that's fine. And it's all good. So
yeah.
I mean, it definitely had an impact in commercial real estate in general, just because residential basically stopped for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden just became a crazy town. Like
and it hasn't slowed down.
Hasn't slowed down.
So, so that happened with residential. Commercial, that it kind of stopped, and people just kind of held off for a little while. So, there's definitely been a gap there, and we're starting to see it now really start to pick up. There's a lot of movement right now in the industrial space, for example, and I think that has a lot to do with Amazon and just online ordering for stuff, because that went
Kroger,
gangbusters. Yeah, Kroger's. Have you been to the Kroger's?
No, but I heard it's like craziness.
It's sick.
Yeah,
it's it is iRobot sick. Like, you ever seen the movie iRobot?
Yeah, that's the Will Smith one, right? Yeah, I saw
it's
that.
like that. It's crazy. Like the sophistication of that facility.
I just don't know how they pick out a good ribeye, really.
I don't know. But
that's my concern.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anything good ribeye. We're before we get into our next segment, what's the best way for people to find you?
I guess the best way to find me is
you're on social media.
I'm on social. I would say that's probably the easiest way to find me.
Gustavo.
No, my social is Ortiz was taken.
Ortiz was taken. So that's Twitter,
everything.
Instagram. Oh, everything. Ortiz was taken.
And that's on our ticker along with his phone number.
Yeah. So that's probably the easiest way. And then go to events.
Right.
I'm at events all the time.
The guy with the vest. Yeah, right. So let's. Part of the show is we love to talk about music.
Yeah.
So we've only had one show where we shouldn't have talked about music. I did notice, because I like to pry into your social life, see what you're up to.
Yeah.
I did see some nice pics of you in a band playing keyboards and singing. So tell me a little bit about your musical background. And what is your go-to music? I mean, what do you like to perform, or sometimes what we like to perform is different than what we listen to, because I'm the same way. I like to perform something different than what I listen to.
Right. It's funny because I really have an eclectic taste in music, and that's caused me not to necessarily I don't really have like a favorite band or like a favorite style of music.
Okay.
I tend to like fusion.
Okay.
So music that's just has multiple genres that are kind of fused together, like that really rings with me really well, and that also resonates with me in the music that I make. So I really like singing my own music, or just original music. Doesn't have to be mine, but just original music. It tends to be usually some fusion of some kind. And if I do a cover, usually I like to kind of make it my own in some way. So like it just kind of, it's definitely, you can tell it's a cover, but you can definitely tell it's not the version that
see, that's how I like to do covers. Yeah. I like to twist them inside out.
Yeah, exactly.
And this way people hear lyrics like, oh, I know those words. What song is that? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh shit, that's
exactly
that song.
Yeah.
I think that's more interesting than trying to replicate the original.
Well, I mean, it allows you as the artist to kind of put your own brushstroke on it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I'm not opposed to doing covers. For me, I like to listen to and I like to play. If it's going to be covers, someone's take on a piece of music.
Sure.
Like I really enjoy that because I like to kind of hear like, what's your spin on it?
Yeah.
Where, whatever it is, I just like to, okay, that's a cool interpretation of that piece.
Right.
So I really enjoy that. So whenever I do music or if I listen to music, I like to have like an interpretive version of a song.
One of my favorite things is that guy that was on that show that he took that song and made a completely different.
What show? What song? Was it America's Got Talent?
Dancing on My Own or whatever.
Okay. You're talking about.
What is his name?
Calum Scott appeared on Britain's Got Talent, and he took a song by, what the hell is it?
Why is our phone?
Why is the phone at the bar ringing this late?
It was a fast song, but
it was a song by a British young lady, but it was called. He did it as "Dancing on My Own." And completely twisted it, but I mean, there's some very obscure songs that were reinterpreted. I remember a song by by a singer, a songwriter from many years ago. Well, I mean most people probably don't know him. Bob Dylan.
Who is that?
You know, he did All Along the Watchtower, and then some guy from Seattle in Woodstock did All Along the Watchtower with a Strat played upside down.
Oh wow!
And blew everybody away. And that was, of course, Jimi Hendrix. And I think a couple weeks before Woodstock, Jimi Hendrix had listened to the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band record, and he did Sgt. Pepper.
Oh, that's funny.
In a Jimi Hendrix way. So I'm all about that, reinterpreting things. And you know, what a lot of people don't know is many great songwriters started out as songwriters because people wouldn't let them sing their own songs. Like everybody knows UB40 and Red Red Wine.
Sure.
But very few people know that Neil Diamond wrote Red Wine.
I didn't know that.
Neil Diamond wrote it. There's the song I'm a Believer that the Monkees did.
Sure.
Neil Diamond wrote that song.
That's
I'm a Believer.
Funny. I would never have guessed Neil Diamond wrote that song.
He wrote that song. So there's so I get your vibe because I love to do that too. I like to take songs and completely flip them. And probably my most contemporary guy I know that well, unfortunately passed away was Chris Cornell. And he did that. He did Nothing Compares to You. He did a Prince song. And made him his own. And then he did Billie Jean. You know Michael's song, and he made it so dark and Billie Jean. So.
That's cool. I mean, I really like when artists do that because it's still like an homage to the original.
I think it's huge. I think it's huge.
Like I'm giving. Like for me, like it's like I'm giving so much mad respect to the original. I'm saying that I can't do it that way.
Right.
You did it amazing, and I can't do it that way. Here's my interpretation of that amazing song. You know what I mean? So I feel, to me, that I really like that. I mean, I think it's difficult. If you're gonna mimic a song, you better be
you gotta be spot on. Because it's not that easy.
Yeah, that's hard, man.
And so I like my interpretation. Now a good friend of mine who I grew up with and I worked with, he has a band, and it's a cover band called Completely Unchained.
Okay.
And they are a Van Halen cover band.
Oh wow!
But they're not really a cover band because they dress like, look like, play like, sound like. You would swear you were watching Van Halen.
Okay.
Which is very impressive because of that. But I love the whole interpretation thing, and so one of the questions I love to ask our guests, and I'm like you, listen to Fusion. Like all week I've been listening to jazz music. Why? Because I just couldn't listen to lyrics all week. I was like, I just need to hear music in the background, but I don't want to have to think about it.
Yeah.
I was listening to jazz, smooth jazz. So, in regards to music, what was the first concert you went to?
Radiohead.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So that's way after me. So Radiohead, and first album you bought, and what was it?
It's a good. It was probably. I want to say it was Pink Floyd.
Really? Okay.
I want to say it was Pink Floyd.
Was it Dark Side of the Moon, or
Yes, it was Dark Side of the Moon.
The one.
Yes, that was that one. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's usually Dark Side of the Moon, and then it's Animals, and I think you go from there, and then of course Another Brick in the Wall was the.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
But yeah. Dark Side of the Moon was on. I think it was on Billboard for like 100 years. It's this.
It's an awesome album.
Yeah, it's incredible, especially if you're smoking blunts and you're looking at strobe lights. So.
Well, you know what I liked about that album is that every song was out of left field.
Oh, they're like so bizarre.
They're just like, I mean, and like you'd go from one song to the next, and you're like you don't expect.
Right.
Like if you've never heard it before, you don't expect the. First of all, the transitions were amazing, but even still, like you just don't expect the song, the direction of the song to just completely change. The vibe, the feel, just completely change. It almost seems like it was another band playing the next song.
You ever seen the tribute band to them called Brit Floyd?
Mm-mm.
They're
phenomenal, right?
Phenomenal.
Really?
Oh my god.
Now I know Dark Side of the Moon had Dark Side of the Moon. Did that also have Wish You Were Here?
I don't remember.
And then Money.
Had Money.
Okay, Money was the one with the cash register running and so on. So interesting. So one of the musical questions that I love to ask everybody is kind of a trick question, and here's how it goes. So you get a call from this band's management, and they say, "Hey Gus, we have a spot open in our band. Okay, and we can't seem to find anybody to fill the spot, and you're the guy.
Or girl.
Or girl. But the issue is that in order to fill the spot in this band, you have to have your own nickname. And the band that you're going to perform in is called the Spice Girls. So what is your Spice name?
That's what I said, a guy or a girl.
What would your Spice name be?
That's crazy. Spice name. Wow, that's left field.
Right?
We don't screw around on this show.
Like, we ask people, like, what is it that you like to do, or your personality? Like, there'll be Sporty Spice, or there'll be...
Yeah, I was Snorri Spice.
Snorri.
I guess Adventure Spice.
Adventure Spice. Okay, Adventure Spice. Well, there you go, Adventure Spice. So it's always a fun question. The other thing I like to do on the show is play this or that.
Okay.
And all you're going to answer is one or the other.
Okay.
So we're going to start chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Laptop or desktop?
Laptop, hands down.
Phone call or text?
I like phone calls.
Phone calls. Extrovert or introvert?
Extrovert.
Extrovert. Hamburgers or hot dogs?
Hamburgers. Yeah.
Okay, I agree with that.
Cheeseburgers, as a matter of fact.
Oh, cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Speaking of cheeseburgers, Doritos or Cheetos?
Oh, Doritos.
Face your enemy or face your fear?
Ooh. I would say face my fear.
Okay. People person or animal person?
Animal person.
Trailblazer or trendsetter?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would want to be a trailblazer.
See, but based on your style, I'd say trendsetter. But trailblazer, okay.
I mean, whether I am or not, I don't know, but I would like to be a trailblazer.
If you could turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
What would I tell my 18-year-old self? I would say focus.
Okay. That's good. That's good.
I would say
like
focus.
that. I like that.
I was all over the place.
If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
I would have a plain white billboard that just had the question, why?
I like that.
Like, what is your why?
Well, it's interpretive.
Okay.
But I'm a big believer in, make sure you take the time to question everything.
I like that. That's good. You're pretty good at this. We're going to have you on a new show.
He's the trailblazer.
Ken and Gus Live. Well, I can't thank you enough for being on the show tonight, Gus.
This was awesome.
It's been an incredible show. Once again, let everybody know where to find you, right? Because Ortiz was taken.
Ortiz was taken on any of the social platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a website, so it's GustavoDavidOrtiz.com. I'm actually updating it, so it's pretty lousy right now.
And we can usually find you all over town with a vest and a hat. Yeah. So, and a beard, because this is the Beard Club for Men. Thank you.
Yeah, right, exactly.
All right, cool. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. Hey, everybody. It's been an awesome season. I can't thank everybody enough. This is episode 20. My beautiful wife over there, Lisa. How's it been, girl?
It's been good.
Yeah, did you have fun?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take...
long show. We were an hour and a half tonight.
Yeah, well, it's fun talking to Gus. So, as Lisa knows, we're going to pick up towards the end of September. We're taking a break from season 1. We'll bring back season 2 with some twists and turns and some crazy new stuff and maybe some stunts and other things along the way.
If you want to be on the show, reach out to us.
Reach out to us, right? Because it's a great show, isn't it?
It's an awesome show.
A lot of fun. Yeah. And we feed you.
Lisa, thanks as always for everything you do. Thanks to Gus for coming on the show. What a great show tonight.
I appreciate you.
And thanks to everybody either watching tonight or listening tomorrow. Again, if you missed the show tonight, it'll be on Facebook, YouTube, so on and so forth. We'll be uploading audio tomorrow. It will be on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, and a zillion other spots. So if you're driving in the car tomorrow, you can pull up the show and listen to the show on the drive-in, because we're not much to look at, but we're good to listen to. Thanks again, everybody, for joining in, and we'll see you next time on Tiki Hut Central, the podcast.
Bye, everybody.